want to do this really quickly is take a brief look at those. So we're going to call this the Be a Man box. So if you guys just want to shout out, what kind of training goes into being a real man? What kind of, the Be a Man box.
So what you were saying, or is it actually?
It's just a box. It's metaphorical. But no, it's the Be a Man box. So this is, when we're taking a look at gender, these are the things that society tells our young men they have to be. Yeah, you gotta be tough for sure.
Don't cry.
Yeah, definitely don't cry.
Physically strong.
Yeah. What else?
Sexually assertive.
Yeah. Probably not spelling this right, don't judge the spelling.
Okay.
Better talker than a speller. Okay, yeah, and let's just, you know what, we'll just flip, that's a good start, and there are many, many more. And those messages are incredibly damaging. Oh God, that looks like a poppy. Just butchering some of these references. That's the Be a Lady flower. Okay? What kind of messages go into the Be a Lady flower?
Be a lady?
Yeah, what does that mean, Be a Lady? What does that look like?
I guess, I don't know, just
Soft
nice.
and gentle.
Yeah, soft and gentle.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Submissive.
Nurturing. Sexy.
Yeah.
Shave parts of your body.
What's that?
Parts of your body need to be shaved.
Oh yeah.
On display.
Great. Okay.
Don't be too like bossy or call the B word. Submissive.
Okay. Oh yeah, I got submissive.
Maybe we'll, yeah,
Yeah.
not a bitch.
Right.
Be weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and so these are the damaging messages we get. I'm going to come back to this in a second. But at present, I want to inform you that there's a motion made by the NDP before the legislature right now, urging the government to amend the Yukon Human Rights Act to include gender identity and gender expression as protected areas. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this, because gender affects all of us. That would put us in par with Newfoundland, PEI, Nova Scotia. Northwest Territories did it in 2004. Saskatchewan is doing it right now. Manitoba and Ontario have all done it. The Yukon Human Rights Commission recommended to the government that enhanced protection be offered under the Human Rights Act for gender variant folks. And this document took the position that the protection should be added back in October 2008, before the effort to reform Yukon Act was stalled at the end of 2010, when the Department of Justice got a report written by one of its lawyers on where to go next, and then absolutely nothing happened. So it's kind of exciting that at present there's a motion to once again look at including gender identity and gender expression in the Yukon Human Rights Act. So I got a copy of the petition actually at the back of the table, and I'll leave it there, and you can have a read, and if it accords with your values, I would urge you to consider signing it, and it will just show that Yukoners agree that this motion should be put forward. And also, I encourage you to email your MLA and ask them to support that motion, because it is before the ledge right now. And why does this motion before the ledge matter to you? And this goes back to this, because it's about gender identity and expression. And it's not about trans rights specifically. And this is why trans issues should matter to you. The trans movement is fundamentally about gender, and thus it's an issue that affects us all. Is anyone really 100% male or 100% female as defined by be a man and be a woman? Every person I know has felt limited, constrained, or devalued for exhibiting opposite gender traits, behaviors, and mannerisms at some point in their life. What a shame that is. Each and every one of us are a complex mixture of male and female, the divine masculine and divine feminine. No one should be made to feel shame or guilt for expressing the full range of human emotions and behaviors. It's our birthright. Gender isn't a black or white proposition. Rather, there exists an infinite rainbow of innovative options. So I urge you to bravely stretch and discard outdated gender roles, requirements, and expectations, and open yourself up to the full and vibrant spectrum of human freedom. I hope that you view trans folks as your brothers and sisters. I hope that you challenge yourself to become a gender defender, a person who celebrates gender diversity, speaks out against transphobia and other forms of bigotry, and realize how we as human beings, all of us, are in this struggle together. I hope you don't see my situation as a trans matter, but as a gender matter. The motion in the ledge includes trans rights, but at its core, it's a motion about the right to freely express your gender, my gender, and that affects all of us. Gender matters are not exclusively trans experiences. They're a human experience. Buddha said, "In the sky, there is no distinction of east and west." People create distinctions out of their own minds and then believe them to be true. Thank you for your time.
All right, Jason's gonna take questions if anybody has any. Just shout it out. We're a pretty intimate group. We won't cut each other off, will we?
Yeah.
What is the motion being put forward by anybody? Is that?
So yeah, it's already been tabled. So I think the NDP speak next week, so
Yeah.
sometime next week, but I don't have a specific time.
Do they know if they'll debate it or?
Not yet. I don't know. Maybe they know and didn't tell me, but I feel like they would have told me. Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions?
I'm curious about how the hormones are making you feel. Have you noticed any difference yet?
Yeah, so, yeah, no, and you know what, part of it, sometimes trans people get really offended when people ask questions about that, and then there's so many questions, and in my experience, they come from a place of curiosity and wanting to understand, so I made a decision a while back that as part of my transition, I'm going to actively choose to step into the role of educating people, so that's a great question. So, yeah, the testosterone, so I get pretty amped up for 3 days after my shot. Like, I just want to, like, fight people and be aggressive and be angry for no real reason. I eat like crazy. Like, it's crazy how much food I'm eating right now. And you may or may not want to know this, but you asked. My pleasure button is growing. Yeah, so it's substantially larger than it was prior to the testosterone shots, and I am a lot, yeah, I'm just horny a lot. Let's just be frank here. Yeah, I'm horny a lot. Yeah.
Welcome to guyhood.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Well, there's problems.
Yeah, I know. I was at like 2 days of professional development over the last 2 days, and like, it was not okay to be horny. Like, as much as I was, it was painful in moments. But yeah, so my voice maybe is deepened a little, but we don't know because I'm nursing a cold right now. But my throat it gets scratchy. I think that's it about now, for the most part.
And so how long do you continue?
So I take hormones for the rest of my life.
The rest of your life?
For the rest of my life, yeah. So typically what'll happen is I'm on a half a milliliter, just half, not a full cc of 100 milligrams per milliliter serum, and I inject that every 2 weeks, and typically what you end up being on is about 1 full cc, so double the dose every week. But it depends, because if you put too much testosterone into your body, then your body will actually convert it into estrogen, and it will be counterproductive to what you're attempting to accomplish. So you have to just monitor your hormones, your hormone levels, both estrogen and testosterone. Yeah, that was a good question.
And it, what do you call it? Where you pick up your birth certificate.
Oh, yeah.
Vital stats, thank you. So what is on you're getting that changed, and so what will it say?
So it will say male, and it'll say Chase Christopher Blodgett. Now the challenge is, some of the trans stuff that you do is very patchwork. So I wasn't born in the Yukon, I was born in Ontario. So in terms of dealing with that, I have to go through Ontario's system, their policies, their fees. And because I'm a resident of the Yukon, in order to change my name, I had to go through Yukon's policies, Yukon fees, and vital statistics here. And what happened was when I went to change my name, they said you need to bring your birth certificate to prove your old name, so I brought it, and then she goes, okay, I gotta take this and destroy it. I said, you can't have that. And she goes, well, I have to, you can't have your name changed. And I said, but I need it, because in order to change my gender marker, I have to take my birth certificate, and I have to mail it back to Ontario with my forms filled out. And so if she takes it for my name change, then I can't send it to Ontario. The procedure for changing my birth certificate was basically, I either had to fill out a form to request a new one, or to change my legal gender, and like the fees were all confusing, and what you had to fill out was confusing, because it was like I lost my birth certificate, or it was stolen, and it was like, where was your dad born? And I was like, I don't know, and how is this relevant? But like there's all these like weird things on forms that just don't align and make it super complicated. So I'm waiting hopefully for Ontario to send back my birth certificate. It should be here by Christmas, but I don't really have much faith in that. But for now, I just, yeah. And I started my job at work, and I was using a portion of my legal birth name, so it's going by Chris professionally. And so when the office manager put in my insurance for medical, it was under Chris Blodgett, and they gendered me as male, which was great until I have this legal name change, and they're like, that's no problem, just send us your legal name change certificate. Well, my legal name change certificate has my female birth name, and they have me as male, and I don't really want to have that discussion with them, because they're going to flag all my medical stuff and probably try to not cover it, because that's what tends to happen. And they also have in there, they have coverage for things like, if you're diabetic, they cover the cost of your needles. But they may not cover the cost of my needles for testosterone, because they might consider it elective, in which case it's my own responsibility. And so there's like little things like that you know, I'm trying to think proactively about how to deal with in the best way possible, but also while making sure that like I get access to whatever, you know, what I need. So yeah. Any other questions on that?
Well, I just want to thank you for sharing your story, and I want to let you know to tell stories. So Raven stories are mainly what I tell, and the Raven shapeshifts all the time to suit whatever he wants to do, and also uses body parts. So I was thinking, maybe he was a trans, I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, and then my grandparents, they never used pronouns, or they always mix them up. But really within the language, it's the English that imposes the pronouns.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to say too that I'm on the advisory committee to the city about a committee against racism and discrimination. And thank you for telling me about the washrooms, because that's something I want to talk to the city about, is maybe to audit if they are not full, or if there's options.
Thank you.
So, anyway, I'll talk to you more about it, but it's something that I think that we can go there and stuff.
That's
So
awesome.
maybe change. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? Ask them now. This is your chance. Get them off.
Do kids, children, are they confused about you, or is it just as natural to them as in general?
That's a good question. I have a huge extended family, and I came out to them all via letter, and then I went to Africa. It was a personal choice. It was a personal choice to be in a non-emotionally reactive state, because it was just really stressful. So I chose to take care of my needs and hope that, you know, the emotional response came, and then went, and then, you know, we would be in a place of dialogue when I got back, which is totally, it worked. But I have like 19 cousins, and some of them are really young. And my aunt sent me this hilarious message, and she's like, "Hey, we got your letter, and you know, we try to talk about things openly at the kitchen table, so I brought it up, and the only real issue we had is that Liam and Ella were super confused because they already thought you were a boy. It's like, you know, from the mouth of babies, right? So for a lot of young kids, it's not such a big deal. And they'll just come up and ask, or I will, and I explain it to them as I basically say, well, you know, I said, you know, I was born, you know, I'm a boy, but I was born in a girl's body. And I said, you know, what about you? You have a boy's body. You know, are you a boy or a girl? Well, I'm a boy in a boy's body. I said, oh, well, I'm a boy in a girl body. And they go, oh. And then I go, yeah, but it's okay because I can go to the doctor and the doctor can give me medicine and the medicine will help me fix that. And it's pretty simple. With older teenagers, so I used to teach, and a lot of those kids are on my Facebook, and they've all just been like super cool, and I think like teenagers especially are such amazing beings because they can spot a bullshitter a mile away, right? And if you're in integrity with who you are and being open and honest, my experience is that, you know, they don't really judge you. They're just like whatever. So, you know, I actually prefer it's easier for me to come out to kids and teenagers than it is to adults, because in my experience is that adults tend to be the harsher judges or the bigger critics. Any other questions?
Awesome.
Thanks for listening.
Coming out and and sharing your personal story. It means a lot. It means a lot to our community as a Whitehorse community, and I'm really happy that. Yay. Anyways, just happy today. Like after a long day, this has been like the highlight of my day. Thank you so much. I love hearing you speak. And just to let you know, YU at our last convention unanimously passed. To support having the Human Rights Act change in Yukon, so we're behind you 100%. Equity rights are human rights. We all deserve to be treated with equity and, you know, dignity. And PSAC National is also a strong supporter of trans rights and could be a really good, I'll hook you up with some good contacts down there. Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's what that's a perfect example of what Sharon did and what Lisa's saying. Like my experience in this community has been nothing but beautiful. And people are saying, hey, I have a connection. Hey, I can help. Hey, I sit on this committee. Like, thanks for bringing it up. Let us help. You know, Human Rights Commission's been great. And there's just, I mean, it's just an amazing community to be a part of.
Yeah. And another really good thing I just got, I'll forward the email out to anybody who wants it. In Ontario, they're now allowing youth under the age of 18 to have their gender changed on, or their sex identification changed on birth certificates. I think as young as 17. Is that something like that? I can forward all that if you're interested. And Bill C-279 is currently in the Senate. If you can, you know, email or text wonderful Mr. Ryan Leaf and let him know that you support Bill C-279, which is speaking to trans rights in the federal human rights legislation. That would be awesome. Yeah. Thank you all for coming out.
Yeah, one of the things that just happened, the International Olympic Committee just passed a motion in response to 2008 and 2014, the Beijing and Sochi Games and the violations of human rights. And they basically just passed a motion that holds host countries accountable to honoring human rights. And a huge piece under that in those countries would be protections for LGBTQ community members. So, you know, there's some awesome shifts going on in our world right now. So it's a good time to be a part of a movement. Yeah. So if you guys, if it accords with you and you want to sign the bill at the back, that would be awesome. And I saw a hand. Yeah.
So I just want to thank you for pioneering what you're doing here. And also for, like, you really made me think about how often we gender people. Like we say, that boy that was, we don't have to say that boy that was waiting for the bus or that girl. Or I notice if someone says, no, had their baby, what's the first question I ask? Why do I ask that question? It doesn't matter, it matters. So thank you for, you know, forging your way and choosing to educate, and because I know that can't be easy, but it's important.
Yeah, and there's one guy too that's been really good, like I talked about the birth certificate thing, that I can't adjust that issue in the community. There's a guy named Sean down in Vancouver or Victoria area, and he's a born Yukoner. And so he's the one who actually got that motion moving, but so together we can fight different pieces, because like he needs to do a name change down there. He already has, but he would have to do it in BC. So if we needed to work on the name change policies up here, he can't do it because he doesn't live here, it doesn't affect him, whereas I can do it. But if we need to change the birth certificate, well, I can't do it because I was born in Ontario, but he can do it because he was born in the Yukon. So that's what I meant when I said, like, this situation, it's such patchwork, because there's so many parameters around it. And, you know, in terms of human rights, there has to be a violation before, you know, you can go that route, right? And, like, I can't have the birth certificates violated because it doesn't affect me. That would have to be out of Ontario, and then I'd have to go national human rights. Like, it's just hoops. I'm getting good at jumping. Cool. What's that? Yeah, I'm an awful dancer. Thanks for coming, everyone.